Plan Commission is now Tuesday, July 18th at Council Chambers. Call to order. Roll call.
T-Strike.
Present.
O'Reilly.
Present.
Caprillion.
Here.
Frederick.
Here.
Piles.
Here.
Bessler.
Here.
Feith. Feith.
Here. Item number 3, approval of minutes from June 20th, 2023 meeting.
I'll make that motion.
And John seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, identify potential conflicts of interest. Please be advised per city policy 3.340 that any member of the body shall declare a conflict if they have an interest, financial or otherwise direct or indirect, or engage in a business or transaction or professional activity, or incur an obligation of any nature that is in conflict with the proper discharge of the body's official duties. Seeing none, moving on to number 5, citizens' comment.
Mr. Chair, Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it seems to me that we should be adopting the agenda. I would like to see a certain item off the agenda.
And that item would be?
Adoption of the agenda. The agenda should be adopted by the commission. I thought it was going to be, but the agenda does not have adoption of the agenda on it. So anyway, I'd like to.
The agenda is put out by staff, and if you would like to remove an item, we can remove it when we get to that item on the agenda.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you. Citizen comment? Please come up to the podium and state your name, address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Marvin Dewar. I live at Greenway Terrace, 2313 South Washington Avenue. We abut the property that is here to get rezoned. The problem that we have is the fact that Mr. Smith, who owns the property, has spent a considerable amount of money to make the drainage problem that we had go away. If we have a multifamily residency moved in next door into the adjacent property with all the concrete and the blacktop, we have concerns with the fact that there's going to be a lot of runoff. We have to have one or two things, either a retention pond that would go in there, or we also need retaining walls between the adjacent properties. Greenway Terrace in Marshfield owns and operates the property right there. And the concern that they have no problem with the neighborhood as a 1 and 2 family residency. But 32 family residency and multi-family residency is not an acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Any other citizens' comments? Seeing none, move on to item 6. Rezoning request by Samantha Miller, representing Damon Homes, to rezone a portion of parcel 33-06973 from TR-6 2-family residential to MR-12 multifamily residential. Presenter, Bryce Hembrook, planner.
You're muted, Bryce.
Thank you. Sorry, just like hearing myself talk too fast. The property is located in the south side of the city of Marshfield. It is located to the south of Green Acres, which is one of the newer subdivisions in the city. And it is east of Washington Avenue and north of the Greenway Terrace that was just referenced. So right now the property is currently zoned for TR6 2-family residential, and a portion of the property is proposed to be rezoned to MR12 multifamily residential in order to allow for, low to medium density residential. In this case, the developer is interested in constructing townhouses in this location. And the rest of the parcel would be subdivided into single family and then lots that are designed for what we call twin homes, which are 0 lot line duplexes essentially. So overall, it's a small parcel of the land. It obviously would have to have, utilities and streets added, but that would come later on once a preliminary and final plan are reviewed in the future. The future land use map recommends, I thought it was in here. The future land use map recommends that this is medium density, single family, 2 family, and townhouse. Generally, the density is 3 to 10 units per acre. One thing to keep in mind is the desired density of 3 to 10 units. That is determined by looking at the block or the neighborhood and not necessarily just the one specific parcel. So, for example, the concept plan that we've seen from the potential developer shows that there would be, I believe, 4 townhouse buildings with 4 units each. Assuming that they would go forward with that project, that would put them just over 12 dwelling units per acre. However, when you consider the rest of the neighborhood, it would be somewhere in between 3 to 6 units per acre, just depending on what that final layout would look like. So one of the things that I included in the staff report is, some of the land uses that are permitted by right in the MR12, as well as conditional use. So single family, 2 flat, twin house, duplex, townhouse, multiplex apartments, 3 to 4 units would be permitted by right. I just like to mention that because although the plan is for townhouses right now, in the future, if plans change and they were able to meet all the other zoning code requirements such as setbacks, lot area requirements, etc., they would be able to construct, whatever they're permitted by right. So I did want to include that information. One thing that I did want to touch on is in the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, there was a lot of talk of adding a variety of housing. As I'm sure most of you guys know, there's a housing shortage in pretty much all of Wisconsin right now. And so there's really a push to try to develop as many housing units as possible to try to keep up with demand. And one of the options is to have a variety of housing such as townhouses, which is becoming more and more popular for either first-time, homeowners, renters, or even senior citizens that, would like to have, almost their own place and then they don't have to mow and shovel. So that's becoming a popular thing. So our housing study and comprehensive plan have recommended to look at adding more duplexes, more townhomes, condos, etc. And the rest of the concept plan shows that there would also be, as I mentioned, twin homes that would be located along the south and west side of the existing parcel that we're talking about here. So the developer is looking at kind of adding a mix. And I believe that they went with this proposed location to keep it, somewhat separated from single family along Washington and then to the north. So with that, staff recommendation would be to approve the rezoning request to rezone the property, the portion of the property as shown from 2-family residential to MR12 multifamily residential, and direct staff to prepare an ordinance for common council consideration. And as I mentioned, this does require a public hearing, so we can have a public hearing, and then if there's any questions for me from the planning commission, I'd be happy to help.
Open it up to a public hearing. Any comments? Would you like to come up to the lectern, please?
So I'll just introduce myself. My name is Heath Tappy. I'm the owner of Denny Homes. And I think this package that Samantha put together for us is for each of the board members. And if anybody wants to see it, just talks about the property. So I'm just here to answer any questions if you have them. Can I pass these out to the board?
Sure, if you'd like to. Thank you.
And then if I could just touch on something, as you can see on the agenda, number 8 would be a consensus subdivision plan. So he'll go over kind of the high level, the overall plan for that whole subdivision. But since this is a public hearing, we have to have this item first, so that's why we didn't have it after the plan. I just wanted to touch on that.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll close this hearing. Thank you, Heath, for the information also.
Is there someone with the city that can comment in regards to the drainage? Thank you, Tom.
With any type of development such as this, the city of Marshfield has a ordinance that requires to deal with stormwater management. So there's a plan that's actually would be constructed to make sure that the pre to post runoff would not exceed the 10, 50, 25, and 100-year storms. It's also required that the total suspended solids from the site would have to be removed to 80%. As you recall, last year we did bid this area out for a street opening project, and there was a plan to put a pond on the city property to the east of Aspen Avenue to accommodate for this. So with the streets and the storm sewer systems, that would direct the majority of the water, if not almost all of it, to that pond location.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? John?
Looking at your packet here, this page, new for 2023, 0 lot lines. I'm reading down here, self-managed, less exterior maintenance, no association fees. Can you explain the commentary below that? I don't quite understand what that says. This page here, like 6 or 7 or something into the packet.
Did you want my copy?
Yeah.
Go for it. Yep, absolutely.
So the concept of the 0 lot line, I'll just, as I look for the page, it's not new to me building 0 lot lines. It's this is kind of how we marketed it. We're doing 0 lot lines in Weston and in Plover. So the difference, it's kind of a difference from a condo to privately owned. So if you think of, you have apartments that you don't have any responsibility for, you have condos that you have a little more responsibility for, a 0 lot line would be, you have more responsibility for a 0 lot line than you do of a condo. So you have to do your own yard work. But on a 0 lot line, your yard's a lot smaller. You're not required to have a condo association with 0 lot line. So on the 4 unit, you have a shared wall agreement. And on a 2 unit or twin home that we heard about, you also have a shared wall agreement. So that's in your title work. Your shared wall agreement talks about if you have to change your roof, if you're going to change your siding. It's a pretty simple, maybe 2-page document that gets recorded with your title when you purchase the home. So so the advantage is you don't have to pay an association fee. So that's why I talked about self-managed, less exterior maintenance. On the 4 unit, that is a new concept to my company and to the places that we're building. That's a very small lot. It's 25 feet wide. You probably could mow your lawn with a weed whipper if you wanted to. I mean, your yard is 25 feet by 40 feet. And if you put some landscaping and a yard shed out there, literally you would have 5 minutes worth of mowing to do. So there's less exterior maintenance. And the no associations fee is just that that's the advantage. If you're in a condo, you might have a $100 up to $200 or $300 a month association fee, and here you don't have that.
What does it mean here where it says, under no association fees, an offering of relevant, customized, and content-based service over SMS, USSD, and WAP?
I have no idea.
And also right above that, it says enables the lightning speed network speed to the customers. Is some content there.
So Samantha is not here, so I own the company and she sent me to the meeting because she's on vacation. So
Might just be some content that ended up in there.
I think so. I think that wasn't supposed to be in there. I think the no association fees is there's not a homeowners association. So I'm sorry. I think that needs to be changed. Less exterior maintenance. I think it's from I don't think that content belongs in there. So sorry if I explained all of that when you were just questioning that.
Well, no, at any rate, your further illumination of what zero lot lines are and what the advantages are was still helpful. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yes,
Sir, I'm wondering, I know one of the members of public gentlemen here was concerned about how many multiplexes, various things are there, but I'm kind of concerned the other way. I wonder, I'm wondering if you could put more in, more fourplexes or more double. I noticed on the, I don't see the site plan anymore. We have the site plan? There we go. I noticed on the, is north at the top on this plan? So north, on the east end, there's some fairly large, pretty large lots there for single family, single houses. And concerning the comments that have been made, we know those comments have been amplified a number of times, both in council and elsewhere, of the housing shortage, A, housing shortage in Marshfield, and B, need for more taxable properties. I'm wondering if more houses, more units could be put into this lot. This is a pretty large piece of property. I went down and walked around it. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that. If you would be opposed to a revision that would put in more, or is that economically not advantageous to you? I really don't know the answer to those kind of questions. Would it be more advantageous to you to have more like fourplexes or double duplexes than there are? From your standpoint.
So good question. So you can push density as a municipality or as a developer to whatever, as they were talking, medium density, I forget the numbers, is 6 to 12, or I forget what the numbers were that Marshfield is looking at for that. I think to maintain the integrity of the subdivision and the current development, the north lots, we actually took one lot out to keep those lots bigger. So if you look in this pamphlet, we have Executive Design Series homes, we have Family Design Series homes, we have Neighborhood Design Series homes, and then we have zero lot lines. Could we potentially get more quadplexes or what we call townhomes? We could, but I think it's a new market to Marshfield, and I think it's wise to start with a smaller number and have a demand for it. So, and I also think it's wise to have those 4 units buffering what's owned by a mobile home park. So it kind of makes sense down there. The east 8 lots, we could make that maybe get 2 more lots out of those 8 lots and keep them residential. But again, you know, those could be executive or family design series homes. And in the markets that we're in, that's probably 389,000 up to 550, 600,000. So probably going to be more the lower end of that number. And I don't know if I'm answering your question. We could do more density. I think we're adjacent to duplexes with twin homes. We're adjacent to mobile home with the quadplexes and some twin homes. And we're gonna have our executive series homes up against the current, what I would say are similar to our executive and family design series, so.
Thanks for that. I guess part of my question is, as a developer, would it be advantageous to you to have more from the standpoint of the economics of your development?
So the more dense it is, the more your cost is per foot. So I figure if there's 70 some units here and we build between 8 and 12 units a year, it's 5 to 7 years worth of, on a conservative level, worth of buildings that we can build out, and a higher density would, I'd be open to it, to talking maybe more twins, but I think we had a lot of conversation on it, and I don't think it'd be more advantageous. It might just give you more lots for a little longer period of time, but I don't think we're gonna sell more houses quicker if we had more twin homes.
Okay.
Or quad homes.
Thank you. I appreciate the thought process. I think the existing subdivision to the north will very much appreciate the transitioning out of that, because there's some pretty high level homes in that neighborhood. I also am extremely excited about the diversity in homes that we did not see in last year's plan. The quadplexes, the twin homes, with the price level of homes right now, it's going to allow people to get into a nice newer home that we weren't seeing on single family dwellings. So at that point, I think we've pretty much covered the issues that I heard earlier, which were runoff was a big one, and there was some concerns about asphalt runoff. And with the quadplexes, they're basically just driveways like you would see on anything else. I don't know. I like the design. I think it's a lot more marketable than what we saw last year, and appreciate the presentation.
One more comment is that the zero lot line, our average zero lot line sales price is in the 250s, and our average single family standalone house average is around 361. So the diverse, you do get all those twins and quads. I think our most expensive twin home is 274 in our markets, and the townhomes are in the 250s. And then I want to answer this gentleman's question about if we wanted, if you wanted more twin or of the 4 units, they could go, you could maybe get 2 more 4 units instead of those twin homes. But I would be open to whatever you preferred, whatever the village, whatever the Marshfield preferred.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you. With no other comments, we will close the hearing. And Bryce, we now need to make a motion. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendation.
I will second that.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 7, Municipal Court Amendment Request by the City of Marshfield to consider amending sections 18-31, Zoning District 18-55-5, Residential Uses Townhouse, to clarify minimal lot size and minimal lot width for townhouse units located on individual lots. Presenter, Bryce Hembrook, planner.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an issue that city staff noticed when I first started in Marshfield in 2017. We wanted to change this. However, there just wasn't really much of a demand for townhouse units at that time, so we didn't really have a reason to move forward with the amendment But now that we have this development, as well as a couple other potential developers, calling and asking, what are the requirements for a townhouse? We figured that it's a good time to try to fix this. Because, so currently our regulations in our zoning districts kind of dictate what the setbacks are, the minimum lot width, the minimum lot area, et cetera. And for a townhouse development where all four, for example, there's a 4-unit townhouse, if all 4 are located on one property, then that would, then the minimum lot width for MR12, for example, would be 100 feet. I don't think I think I included in the packet an example, but MR12, there would be a 100-foot minimum lot width requirement, and that's for all uses. Well, in the case of a townhouse where there's a 0 lot line, kind of similar to what is proposed, in that last item, it would be virtually impossible to get a minimum lot width of 100 feet for these interior townhouses. It would, potentially be possible on the outskirts, but even that would be quite a stretch. Same thing with minimum lot area. Generally, it would be 3,600 square feet per dwelling unit. What this does is it essentially requires that there must be deep, narrow lots for these interior lots when we think that the lot shape should be dictated more through setbacks, building coverage a lot, etc. So when we were originally looking at this, our thought was to recommend a change to include the language that for townhouse buildings with individual lots per dwelling unit, all lots combined must meet the minimum lot width, minimum lot area, and maximum building coverage or lot standards as required in the underlying zoning district. So as you can see here, there are 4 townhouse units. All 5 of these lots, if there's a lot with a dwelling unit on, these would all be combined to meet those requirements. So all 5 would have to be 100 feet in width to meet that minimum lot width, or 3,600 square feet times 5. They would have to, that entire lot would have to meet that requirement. So we believe that this was originally the intention of when this was amended, it just wasn't specifically stated or elaborated on. So that's why we'd like to change that. Another thing that we wanted to change was the requirement that all townhouse units within a development shall be located a minimum of 25 feet from the boundary of the development. We have always gone with setbacks to kind of dictate, how far the distance should be. And we don't see a reason why this should be treated as same for like a duplex, a twin home, and even a multiplex apartment doesn't have this requirement. This was one requirement that we definitely wanted to see removed, so I figured we would include it at this time as well. So with that, the recommendation from staff would be to approve the municipal code amendment request by the city of Marshfield for those changes that I just presented, and direct staff to prepare an ordinance for common council considerations.
We'll open up to public hearing. Any comments? Any questions? We'll close the public hearing. Yep. Okay, now if you'd like to make a motion. Mike makes a motion.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you, Kim. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, presentation on conceptual subdivision plan for Green Acres, first edition. Presenter, Keith Tapp, president of Benyon Homes Incorporated.
I'll just give a brief introduction. As you know, Keith has kind of given the package to the planning commission. But this is just a brief presentation just to kind of go over it a little bit more in detail if the planning commission has any additional questions. I wanted this as a separate item just in case there's any bigger picture questions for the subdivision that wasn't necessarily related to the rezoning. So with that, Keith, I don't know if you want to make any more comments or if you would like to leave it up for discussion.
What's your pleasure? Yes, great presentation again. Thank you very much. So then we need a motion to accept the presentation. Is that correct? No? Okay. So then number 8 is, moving on to number 9, discuss chicken ordinance approval from June Plan Commission meeting to clarify whether chickens are allowed to be sold. Presenter is Steve Barg, but he is not here this evening. Yes, go ahead, Franklin.
Yes, I'd like.
Could you turn your microphone on, please?
All right. Is it on now? There we go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to move to strike this from the agenda. I have, do not believe this is a plan commission item that the plan commission should either give input to or have on its agenda. I think it's possible to argue from the parameters of the Wisconsin statute that allows the city to have a plan commission that the erection of chicken coops, kind of just a little bit of a thin line there, but that would fall within the purview of the plan commission. But the buying and selling of any of items, that kind of thing, is not really, I don't think at all, in the purview of the plan commission. So I'd like to just take it off I'd like to remove it. I move to remove it from the agenda. City council wants input from people, they can get input, but this commission is not charged with that.
Need a motion?
Mr. Piles is making the motion, so we'd be looking
I
for
make it a
second.
motion.
Is there a second to the motion?
They want to discuss chicken, so.
No second, we'll make a discussion. Anybody wants to jump in? John?
What prompted this to come back to us again? I thought we had it pretty well settled after last meeting.
If I may? Mayor?
Absolutely, thank you.
So just a little clarification as to why this is here. So when the motion was made, there was some misunderstanding between myself and Mr. O'Reilly as to what the intent of that motion was. So he intended to allow the sale of chickens as part of that ordinance. My understanding was he was requesting to prohibit the sale of chickens. So as you approved in the minutes, you prohibited the sale of chickens by motion. And then Mr. O'Reilly pointed out that wasn't exactly what his intent was. So on a staff level, we felt it was best to bring it back here to the commission to actually decide how you all interpreted that motion that evening and what your opinion was. And just to comment on Mr. Pyle's perception too, I do understand and appreciate where he's coming from. I do think we have a little leeway here in Municipal Code Chapter 2, where it does say that powers and duties can be assigned to you by the Common Council for input. So if that makes you feel any better, I'm not quite sure, but that's my third string answer here for Plan Commission, and Bryce can add what he feels is appropriate as well.
I would like to add what I felt on that is, I thought we had it settled as well, and I thought they could sell it, the chickens. You know, what are the choices? Slaughter them, let them go free, or we let them sell them, just as long as it's not gonna become a business in someone's home.
Which would be a different issue, right? So if I recall from last meeting, the limit is 4. So really, that's the limit. You can't really have a chicken
No
selling
disputing there,
business
correct,
there.
yes.
So if you need to sell one or whatever, I mean, it's not really, I think it was just like kind of too much in the ordinance, was the idea. So I think we did approve those minutes
Yeah, agreed.
then, because I don't think that was how the sequence of events happened last month.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think when I talked to Jessica about this, she said we would just approve the minutes.
I don't think your microphone is
Maybe
on.
Mike's not on mic. Yep.
Hello? Yeah, when I talked to Jessica about this, when I noticed it, her direction was, let's approve the minutes and we'll amend it further down amend it or approve it as stated. And I would agree, after I watched the video, it was very confusing, so I can definitely understand and it was my fault the way I worded it. But I do think that it's contradictory to what we want to accomplish, because if we do, in the event someone wants to get rid of their chickens, someone gets their ability to own chickens taken away, we don't want them having to be killed. Why not pass them on through a sales process? And the ordinance does dictate for chickens, so you can't be raising chicks. Those are also chickens. So
And you could sell your dog to your neighbor if you wanted to, so.
Do you need a motion on this?
Yes, I would
Yes.
like a motion, please.
Okay. I'll make I want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah, there you go. Please do. Yes, Mary, thank you.
Because I want the chickens to go to their coop. I make a motion that the ordinance will allow chickens to be sold.
Okay, will that be chickens and eggs or just, nope, just chickens?
Just chickens.
No eggs, just chickens, correct? And Mike seconds it, yes. Any other comments or discussions? Wow, cluck, cluck, how's that? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Guess what? Motion carries. It goes to the council. Wow, this will be an interesting meeting next week. Absolutely. Oh, number 10, and Franklin, thank you for your input also. Absolutely. This is why we have a great plan commission. Number 10, staff updates. We have no staff updates. Items for further agendas. At this point, we have no further agenda items unless there's something that somebody has an issue about.
Mayor,
Bryce?
Mayor,
Yes.
I have something.
Yes, sir.
So I talked with Josh Miller, who is helping out with the economic development, and he wants to set up a special planning commission meeting in probably August or September. This would be after the regular scheduled planning commission meeting. So generally in August, our meeting would be August 15th. And in order to go through for a kid's presentation, he wanted to do a special planning commission meeting probably 2 weeks after or so. So we don't have to decide on anything tonight. However, he just asked if the planning commission could look at their calendars and come back at the next meeting and determine if a date works for them. One of the days that he mentioned was August 29th, which is a Tuesday at 7 p.m. So if the plan commission could just, take a look at their calendars and see if we would be able to get a quorum for that meeting, that would be great.
How do we want to communicate that and to whom?
I think what we could probably do is just, we can bring it up at the next meeting and just, maybe if you're unable to make it and you know that for sure, you can send me an email or Steve. But we will set the actual date at the next plan commission meeting.
Could we make sure that might be an agenda item or something, just so we're all remembering that that's expected of us then?
Absolutely. Sounds great, Mary.
Thank you.
So at the next plan commission meeting, then we will decide if we want to have our meeting August 29th. Okay, sounds great. And yes, Mr. O'Reilly.
At the last meeting, I had requested addressing the food trucks at the farmers markets, and I didn't see that. I just want to make sure that doesn't slip by the wayside.
Okay, and Franklin?
Yep, I didn't
Sorry,
have
Bruce, go
enough.
ahead. Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Mike, I do have it noted. I didn't have enough research to really provide you guys with enough substance to really discuss it today, so I apologize about that, but I will put it on the next agenda.
Franklin?
Yes, I'd request a future agenda item for the next agenda. I'd like us to look at the data on the comprehensive plan because it's out of date. It doesn't have 2020 census input statistics in it. It has 2010 statistics from 2010 census, nothing since. So it's 13 years, all the stats are 13 years old. So I'm wondering if we could speak to that since we are specifically charged with the comprehensive plan, as I understand it.
Yes, thank you. Anything else before we adjourn? Yes, John?
Back to staff updates. Do we have any potential time frame on when we'll have staff in this department?
Well, right now.
Any news there, I guess, is what I'm asking?
Yes, right now, Sarah's working on getting what would you say, a plan together to put it out there to get some people to apply for the positions. And from what I see so far is we're gonna pare it down to 2 rather than 1, or maybe 3 rather than 2, so that it's not such a big burden on just 1, which makes more sense because they can do their own thing as opposed to having so much to do. Yeah. We feel maybe that was part of the problem.
Part of the restructure that was talked about.
Absolutely. Yes,
Got
sir.
it.
Thank you.
And I think that is key to play into Franklin's request too, because if we don't have the staff to do those updates, then it's not necessarily good to dive into them at this point.
Correct. And unfortunately, almost every city is in the same position we are. The plan commission thing is a tough sell. Okay. So who would like to adjourn the meeting? Mike, thank you all. Bryce, everything good with you? Thank you. Thank you.